Hey family, I'm back. I gotta make another little small video so I can send over to my TV channel. I gotta go over there and set up my TV guide. But look, um, I try my best, right? Um, when it comes to Bible, when it comes to sharing my personal experience, uh, my topic for today: standing firm on godly standards. Now, I'm going to say this again. When I say standing firm on godly standards, people might be like, well, what is that? Right? So now I have to break it down. I can, if I choose to, and go in the Bible and say, well, Paul said this, Mark said that, Luke said this, John said that, Isaiah said that, I can't. But if they can say it, you can't. If you can go in and repeat what somebody else said in scripture, you can't say what that meant or means to you as an individual. You're only sharing with people what it means to somebody in the Bible. Listen to what I'm saying. You only sharing what this mean or meant to Paul, or what it meant to Moses, because you're sharing their story in reference to the answer. Do y'all realize we do this? I don't want to do this, family, right? Because I was getting ready to say, man, that doesn't make any sense to my mind. One time it did. Because I'm going to tell you basically what everybody else say when it comes to living life in the here and now. That's why I try to keep the focus on me and how God worked with me. That's the reason why I'll talk a little bit about how I used to run off of my own self stuff, bullcrap. And how now I try to focus more on, a God fulfilling life as far as morals, values, principles, respect, integrity. It's not complicated, family, to teach like our children respect for each other, themselves, morals, values, and spiritual principles. These are the good qualities of life that gives us something to live by and be proud of. Can y'all hear how I'm talking? I'm not quoting scripture. I could have a scripture in my head, right? Listen to what I just said. I could have a scripture in my head, but I'm breaking it down to what that means to me. Everybody might not get that. I already know that. That's why I can only stick to what I know and how God worked with me. I can only share my truth on how God worked with me. I'm not 100% if like when we read scripture, right? Adam and Eve was when earth began with human beings. They was here way before we came here. They probably wasn't considered as human beings. They was called other names. So when you read and you studying certain things, and little by little, your mind and your heart begin to open, and you like, oh my God. That's why a lot of stuff in the Bible might not make sense to the mind. So I had to stop trying to figure stuff out. Now, what I do a lot is comparison. Because what I began to understand, they wasn't no different than you and I. They was husbands, they was fathers, they was wives, husbands, father, wives. They had family. They took care of their family. So a lot of the stuff that we read and we study about being responsible and being productive, we can get it from there. Some of them was married, some of them cheated in their marriages. What's happening now? But see, we'll sit back and for some reason we'll go here and we'll make life so totally different from them. And I watch the way we do this now with our athletes and stuff. And see, I'm looking at y'all, right? Little Steve, goal is to be a professional soccer player. If he become a professional soccer player and he's making millions, he's still Little Steve, a human being. But see, what we'll turn around and do, because you got athletes, you got politicians, you have people of authority. Let me put it like that. It's just a title. And we'll put them in places they do not belong as a human being. They make mistakes just like we all do. Some of them been raped, some of them been molested, some of them that went through problems of their own. And then we wonder why they behave in the way they behave, because they are human. And I listen to how we put them all the way up there, above us. I used to do it a lot too. I had to learn to stop doing that. And it was people like Michael Jackson that I had to understand. Just because Michael Jackson was a famous singer, producer, or whatever, right? Their life was horrible. They went through hell with their father. But see, we won't focus on that. We'll focus on the money, the houses, all of that, rather than looking at the trauma that they went through. It's just life. But this is one of the reasons why, family, anytime I open up my mouth, and I keep saying this to y'all over and over and over and over, my talk show is about educating people as far as, say, like they stuck in a certain area in their life. Could be drugs, could be alcohol, could be gambling, could be food, could be whatever, lying, manipulating, cheating. Now understand that you got to recognize your unhealthy side of you and become willing to change that. Oop, did I say that? Your unhealthy side, right? And turn it around. I realized when I admitted my powerlessness over certain things, right? I was talking about I was managing and being responsible. But then over the years, I began to lose control over those areas. What worked early on is not working now. That's why as we get older, we begin to change certain things, certain times, certain years. You know, what works for me in my 20s might not work for me in my 30s. I say it all the time. What worked for me in my 30s might not work for me in my 40s. If I find myself living in my 40s like I did when I was in my 30s, then nothing changed. I'm still going off of old information. Do you realize that? See, the reason why I could say that, because I practice those things. But I have to learn from them, because we keep making the same mistakes and expecting different results. And see, I can't say it no better. It was a guy. I was just running off in my mouth. I was talking real good. I was saying a real good game. But it was a guy that said, no, I hear what you're saying, but share with me step by step. How was you able to come out of that situation and stay up out of it a day at a time? And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And it shut me down. I had to share the recovery process. Do you get it? Because see, a lot of us can preach. but we don't know how to teach a person how to live accordingly. And that's all that guy was saying to me. He said, I hear everything you saying. I hear it. But you got to share with me step by step how you actually was able to stop doing what you did to live a more productive way of life. And that's when it hit me. Bam! You got to share a recovery process. Because we think talking is the answer. It's the beginning towards the answer. So now I had to back up. Pray. Go to meetings. Don't pick up. I had to share with him how I went to a counselor, a therapist, right? Well, a counselor. They gave me a list to go to NA meetings. And I've been there a day at a time for a little over 33 years. But see, in his case, and me sharing this with him, he might didn't have to go to them. He could have just went to meetings. But guess what? Where's the meetings at, Mr. Steve? So now I got to share with him where the meetings. I'm going to just say, go to meetings, go do this, but I'm not going to tell you where the meetings are at. You see what I'm saying? Because we have a tendency of talking, but we don't direct people in those areas. And you really think you're saying stuff. Can't nobody tell you nothing because you know everything. But the moment somebody asks you, well, what are you actually doing? Like the footsteps, the footprints to how I can be a better man or whatever. You can't tell them the steps. So anytime I talk, I had to let people know I had to get rid of the old way of thinking. Because you could not tell me I wasn't right. Y'all don't catch that. Then I had to put some new stuff on that. I remember when I first came to the meetings and they would say, sit on the front row, take the cotton out your ears, put it in your mouth. And we want to know where the cop at, where I asked you. And I was the only thing I knew was where the cop. So I was raising my hand to tell them where the cop at. And they was like, boy, if you don't shut up. Because they knew I didn't know nothing. I was new. But I wanted to act like I was in the go. Like a lot of us do. Now, Sam, I might change my mind, bro, but I'm going to tell you something. Please don't never come on my platform and disrespect me. Please don't do that. I don't play that. Because when you do, it makes me feel like it's like you in my house. You in my, I'm inviting you into my space. You don't shut me down. If I'm talking to you, you listen and we talk to each other. But you were saying some things that I needed you to correct, bro. When you said God actually sat down and wrote the Bible. You say God actually physically sat down and wrote the Bible. So each story of him mentioning certain names can't be true if God wrote it. Do you realize what you were saying? That's why I was trying to back you up, bro. You wasn't listening. And then again, when you say stuff like that, you will cause people to run more away than coming towards them, not even realizing what you're saying. But then me and you talking, and I made a copy of that. I sent over to you. You said Paul wrote the letters to the Philippians. Then you turned around and switched it up and said God wrote it. And I said, wait a minute. I was trying to get you to see what you said. Sometimes we got to think, bro. Even myself, I might say stuff a little bit faster than what I really mean, just by talking wise. You get it? But if somebody back me up to let me see where I'm kind of out of whack at, I understand. And I'll correct that, because most of all, I'm apologize to the people, because I don't want to feed you no misinformation. I don't want to mislead you or misguide you. That's not why God called me to the ministry. Love y'all, and I'm out.